Hey, it's Mike from ECGN Entertainment. We're here at the Hartt School of Music, where we will be interviewing Richard Provost, the founder of the guitar program here. We will also be interviewing Christopher Ladd, the current chair of the guitar program. We'll be discussing the importance of attending guitar festivals.
Thank you very much for asking us to do this. Festivals are important for a lot of reasons, and the first one that really comes to mind, there's no particular order, but the first one that comes to mind is it fills a large void, especially if it's in the summer, between the end of the spring semester and the beginning of the fall semester. But also, it's an opportunity for them to branch out beyond the confines of their institution to get other opinions and to be able to bring those back to their actual teacher, to be able to work through during the year, and simply to, without changing studios, to be able to get that second opinion. It also opens up their world a lot. I went to a GFA for the very first time, and my eyes were very widely opened to from a very regional orientation to a global one.
So, from my perspective, I think the single biggest reason for college students to go to a good festivals, there are a lot of festivals out there, and so some of them are really great if you want to hear a lot of concerts and you want to meet a lot of different people. And then there are other festivals, such as the one we work here, that are very focused. You get 2 lessons with each of us, and you get 2 lessons with the guest artist. Guitarists can live in a vacuum. So your teacher might be telling you a bunch of things that you really need to get done. And you can sit there and you can rationalize why you don't need to do them, because you never play with anybody else. So now you can come in and say, well, I'm a pretty hot player in my school. Now you're walking in and you're seeing people from Peabody or other schools, and you say, well, wait a minute, these guys, I'm a junior here, this guy's a freshman, how come he's playing better than me? And so it gives you that perspective, that's the only way you're going to get that kind of perspective.
Do you remember the first festival, workshop, or seminar that you went to as a student? And if so, what makes it so memorable?
It was the Christopher Parking Masterclass. That was the first experience I'd ever actually had with a teacher other than my high school guitar class. And so not really having an introduction to the classical guitar world and knowing how many players there were out there, this was like the first thing I'd heard of. And so we saved up the money and went out to Montana, had a great week. I took lessons with Muriel Anderson and John Sutherland, and those were the first lessons that I ever remember getting on the classic guitar. There were classes, it always amazed me that when you got, I think there were 20 or 30 people at it, and there was a course on filing your nails. And so one of the first things I remember is 20 or 30 guys filing their nails really carefully. And the 2 young ladies that were in the class were like, and just, there's no problem. These guys are looking like it's crafting art. I remember the level of the players, certainly the impression that it made on me when I was 17 years old. And just having some level of formal instruction for me, having been self-taught at that age, was really, I got to see, I believe John Sutherland I saw twice that week, and I think Muriel Anderson I saw once. But I walked away with some incredibly valuable information and an experience. That was the first one that I went to. And so just the fact that it was the first time that I've been around a lot of guitar players at it was very memorable in itself.
So I'm gonna direct the same question at you, Richard. Do you remember the first festival, workshop, or seminar that you went to as a student? And if so, what makes it so memorable?
Well, the first thing is, there were no master classes back then that you could do as a student. So the first class that I got into was the Segovia Master Class, the last of Segovia's 6 weeks master classes. The 13 players who were in the class that I attended of Segovia was Chris Parkening, Oscar Gillia, Michael Lormer, Carlos Barboza Lima, a recent graduate of Hartt School, who was the first guitar player to graduate from it. He got into the class, as I did. 3 other guitar players from the West Coast in the United States, and the rest were all European, and there were 13 people in the class. And so we had 2 hours a day with Segovvia's assistant, who was Jose Tomas, who was the head of the guitar department at Alicante. And then Segovia would come back and teach. Usually it was like 4 to, well, it was supposed to be 4 to 7, but usually it was 4 to 8. So that was my first experience. So, you know, I kind of fell into it and started at the wrong end of the spectrum, but it was well worth everything. I thought Segovia, for me, was very, very inspiring. I got to be very good friends with Oscar, and I ended up studying with Oscar for 10 years after that. I got equally to be good friends with Michael Lorimer and Carlos Barbosa Lima. Friendships that still continue to this day. And so it was really like a very quick and being thrown into the masses of the top level players in the world. I mean, the only 2 top level players, well, John Mills was in the class as well, who was the hot English player at that time. So the only 2 top level players in the world that weren't there was John Williams and Julian Bream. But everybody else, they were some of the top level players in Europe and the United States and South America. And me. Did not fit in that category.
Awesome.